Hey all, Bree from the No Guilt Mom podcast, and I have got a gift for you this holiday season. If you love the No Guilt Mom podcast, and I mean love the No Guilt Mom podcast, then tell us about it. Leave us a review, and you can be entered to win a No Guilt Mom gift card. All you have to do is leave a review, take a screenshot, and then simply go to noguiltmom.com/review to enter our giveaway for a free No Guilt Mom gift card, simply for telling us what you think about the podcast. It is amazing. But don't delay. Get right on this, as we're going to be giving away that No Guilt Mom gift card on December 21st. So get right on over and visit noguiltmom.com/review.
Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I'm your host, Joanne Crone, joined here by my fantastically wonderful You Got This co-host, Bree Tucker.
Well, hello, everybody. How are you?
We're wearing the I Got This t-shirts because, we do got this.
We do got this. You know what? And it's funny, the story behind the t-shirts.
Yeah.
I found them at Target.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is my jam. I got so excited. I started kind of squealing and jumping a little bit at the store. And Miguel was with me and he's like, okay. And I'm like, can I get this t-shirt? And he's like, of course. I'm like, no, can I pull it off? And he's like, yeah,
definitely. I actually have reminds me, I need to go get it. I have a necklace that says You Got This on it. So I'll have You Got This for everyone outside and I got this and we all got this, because I think it's really a confidence issue when it comes down to parenting.
It is. It really is, because a lot of times we're like, I don't got this, but you do got this.
You do got this.
Gotta follow that gut.
Yeah. So much of our society tells us not to follow our gut, but so much of our gut is right. Right. One of the things that society tells us not to follow our gut on is back talk.
I know, no kids should ever talk back. And if they're talking back, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, isn't that the
that's
message?
BS,
it's
people.
BS. It's telling you that your kids should never have an opinion on anything you do and they should just listen to you, which doesn't happen.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's just start by popping that fairy tale dream.
Yeah.
All right? I mean, I'm sorry, guys, but we all know our kids have opinions, because here in the United States, we do not live in a society where kids are meant to be seen and not heard.
No, and I think that one thing that we need to make really clear right now is that if your kids are giving you back talk, as in they're talking back when you ask them to do something, it does not mean you're doing it wrong. You got this. Everything is going right if they are telling you their opinion about how they feel about what you just said.
Right, because that's part of normal child development, right? And I think that it was really interesting. So when we were talking about this episode, right, you and I were both having a little bit of a different opinion on what was back talk.
Yes, because I was like, I don't get it. What's back talk? Because the things I see as my kids just expressing their opinions are what other people define as back talk. We asked Facebook this. We asked our Facebook page and everything about what back talk was.
Right. We went out to social media, and some of the answers that we got back from people were things like when your kid says, hang on, just wait, you do it.
I'm busy. So I was shocked. I was actually shocked at these responses, and not because I have a moral high ground, but just because, I don't have a moral high ground, by the way, just because I don't consider them back talk. I consider them just kids are stating their opinion in a very unrefined way because they're kids and they don't know how to give their opinions without making other people upset.
I agree with that to some extent. I do. I think what defines back talk for most people, and by all means, everybody podcast land, please comment, speak back, let me know what you think about this. But I think what defines back talk is when they're expressing their opinions back to you about something that you asked them to do in a disrespectful way. That's the key there. It's the disrespect.
So if, for instance, I asked my kids to unload the dishwasher and they told me, hell no, I'm not going to unload the dishwasher. Yes, that'd be back talk.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
and I don't think that, and again, it's a perception. Back talk is subjective. It is not objective. What I claim to be back talk, you might not see that way. Well, clearly, because we were talking and you were like, but my kids don't do it. And then I just laughed. I was like, oh, just you wait. And then the more we talked about it, it was like, oh, really? It has to do with the communication style.
It's really the communication style, because as we talked more, like my kids were doing the same things that your kids are doing. I just didn't define it the same way.
Well, yes. And I do think that in some cases, one of my children at least has a little bit more disrespect in their tone sometimes. We're dealing with this whole feeling out boundaries between parents and child in my household right now with one of my kids. This kiddo is definitely, she's really trying to figure out what she can and cannot do. But you know what the interesting part is? It's just like what we said, though. It's a developmental thing.
Yeah.
Like at your early teen years, that is normal child development to figure out where your boundaries are, what you can do, what you can't do, what's allowed, what isn't allowed. So you do push back a little bit. Kids do push back a little bit. And what's important is how we react, right?
And I do see my kids go through phases too. Like we have a very like difficult phase, and then it kind of evens out. And then something else comes up, and it's like a difficult phase and it evens out. I have seen that push back against boundaries and those things where things become just a little on the edge of disrespectful, and you're like, okay, we're not going to go this way.
And there is a big difference. Let me throw this out there, because I know that you and I both feel very strongly about this. There's a big difference between the disrespect that causes the back talk when it's a relationship thing or whatever, and those things we've talked about before, the halt.
Yes.
Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. I get mean when I'm hungry. I get mean when I'm tired. Like, actually, we were playing a game over the weekend, and I was just getting snippy. And my daughter just looks at me and goes, do you need to go to bed, Mom? And I went, yes, I do. Yes, I do. I'm very tired and my back hurts. I'd hurt my back that day. My back hurts and I'm hungry because I'm on this diet and I can't eat anything because everything's gone in the house. We have to go shopping tomorrow. And my daughter, like, it was so funny because her eyes just got real big. And when it was done, she was like, dude, go to bed, Mom.
It's so funny because, those internal needs we have really affect our moods, and they affect our kids' moods as well.
So sometimes our kids will get snippy and have attitude or disrespect when they're feeling sick or they're tired or they're hungry or they're angry about something else that happened. It doesn't mean that it's something that has to be fixed with our parenting.
And it does not mean you're doing anything wrong. It does not. And in this episode, we're going to show you some ways that you can handle the back talk, and also ways that I hope will help you feel a little bit more patience, because I know when our kids are acting that way, oh my gosh, I want to blow up and like go and retreat into the nearest closet and eat some Ben and Jerry's, or like scream or something like that. But just knowing these things and knowing that it's normal, it's developmental, and all kids go through it, and it's nothing to do with you, it gives me a lot more patience thinking about it that way.
Yep.
So we hope it helps you as well. Dinner time always causes us like so much stress, and we've tried tons of things to make it easier. Like I've tried these meal delivery boxes. I think you have too, Brie, but food ends up spoiling, or you don't like all the meals. And so a few years ago, I started using these eat at home meal plans, and just recently I got Brie to try the eat at home meal plans too. What did you try?
Okay, so we went with the sugar-free, flour-free recipes because I'm currently doing Whole30. It's this sort of like a detox thing you do for 30 days that I really do enjoy doing a couple times a year, but it is hard.
Yeah.
Because it's all whole foods, no sugar, no grains, no beans, none of this stuff.
That's hard.
It can get really boring doing the same 5-7 recipes that you found that you like.
Yeah.
So I was really excited to try this because not only is it hard trying to find them all myself and then trying to come up with the grocery list, but this had it all there.
And you posted pictures of it too.
I did.
You were so proud.
We made lemon pepper fish with roasted sweet potatoes. And my big aha moment was I had never tried roasted sweet potatoes before, and I'm eating them, and so is Miguel, and we're both looking at each other going like, this needs to be like a regular staple on our meal. And I was like, how good would this be with some like sugar-free bacon? Oh. And then he's like, and then onions. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And we're just like getting excited talking about our next meal that I never would have ever tried if I didn't have this.
That's what I love about these meal plans, because it'll help you find like your new favorites, just being introduced to more variety of food. So if you have all the dinner stress and you hate meal planning as much as we do, or it stresses you out, try Eat at Home meal plans. You can sign up at noguiltmom.com/eat-at-home, and you get 25% off when you use the discount code NoGuiltMom, all one word. And now on with the show. You want mom life to be easier. That's our goal too. Our mission is to raise more self-sufficient and independent kids, and we're going to have fun doing it. We're going to help you delegate and step back. Each episode will tackle strategies for positive discipline, making our kids more responsible and making our lives better in the process. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom Podcast. Backtalk can look like a lot of different things in a lot of different families. And what many people consider backtalk, other people don't consider backtalk, like we talked about just now.
Right. I'll be honest. When we got a bunch of the feedback on Facebook, some of the things were harsher than others. Like some things I would hear was like, my kid says, but, or why doesn't my brother have to do it? And I get those things. I do. And I can see how, again, like I said, it's all about the tone and the disrespect, body language, everything that comes along with it.
And let's just say those things, they're annoying. It's annoying to hear that.
Super annoying. Mm-hmm. And then there were other things that were said, like, you're the strictest mom in the world. You should have played with me. Grumble, grumble, grumble. Today's the absolute worst. Grumble, grumble, grumble. And I can see, like you just said, like it causes a lot of emotional feedback from us as parents.
It does.
And a lot of times we're just sitting there like, what are we supposed to be able to do?
I mean, that whole like, you're the worst. When your kid tells you that you're the worst, that hurts.
Right.
It hurts and you start questioning like everything you do. So it does. It gets this emotional response.
It does.
Hey, Aubrey here, and I wanted to share one of my favorite gifts to give during the holiday season, a Storyworth book. It is the most amazing gift ever. Storyworth is an online service that lets you create a special and unique gift of someone's story. I've given Storyworth books to both of my parents, and it has been their favorite gift, hands down. And did I mention it is so easy? Storyworth emailed my parents questions every week that I handpicked from their massive list of questions that they have. All my parents had to do was open their email and answer them. That easy. I asked my dad questions like, did you have any rules that you set for yourself as a parent, which you immediately broke? And he did. I even asked both of my parents, are you more like your mom or your dad? And they shared a lot of really amazing qualities that I didn't know about my grandparents at the time. Then at the end of the year, Storyworth compiles all of their answers, puts them into this gorgeous book that covers everything. My parents love showing us their books, and I personally love getting a chance to read them. With Storyworth, I am giving those I love a thoughtful and personal gift from the heart that preserves their memories and stories for years to come. Go to storyworth.com/NGM and save $10 on your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/NGM to save $10 on your first purchase.
My son is playing a game right now on his computer where he's a thief and the cops are after him. So I'm so excited about this new app, Give As We Grow, where instead of being the quote unquote bad guys, kids are practicing giving back.
That is so cool, Joanne. I really wish that there was something like this when my kids were younger that got them excited about giving back to others and helped them build a better understanding of what it really means to volunteer.
Give As We Grow is the first of its kind free educational mobile app for children ages 8 to 11 that teaches kids via fun, service-focused minigame quests to tap into their unique talents and interests to help others.
And did you know that studies show that there is a biological connection between generosity and happiness, and that volunteering improves people's physical and mental health? I mean, kids who volunteer typically do better in school and are less likely to engage in risky behaviors. And that is something that I think we all want for our kids.
Ready to spark a new movement in generosity? Find and download Give As We Grow for free in the App Store for Android and iOS. And for resources for the whole family, visit giveaswegrow.org.
And I'm going to take a moment to share my backtalk story because I feel like in my household, we do have a bit of a backtalk issue that's going on. I do realize that part of it is developmental, like I said during our intro. Part of it is developmental, and part of it is legit backtalk. There's some disrespect there. That's so stupid, this and that and the other. Thank goodness my daughter does stop short of "you're stupid." She does know that line, and trust me, I see her being aware, like stopping herself when she knows that she's about to say something that crosses that line. But like an example of backtalk that we've had in our house recently, there was a time where she wanted to go clothes shopping and I was willing to take her to the store to go clothes shopping. Now, my point of this, like making me sound like I'm willing to do it. Like she came downstairs on like a Sunday afternoon and was like, I want to go clothes shopping. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm doing this. Well, I want to go like now. And I'm like, well, I'm doing things. When I'm done, I can take you.
So then she was like, okay, we had our agreed upon time. She goes, does her thing. I do my thing. She comes back down and she's in her pajamas.
Mm-hmm.
Bree, don't take you out shopping when you're in your pajamas. I mean, I understand every household is different.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that to her too. But I looked at her and went, you haven't changed. And she's like, well, I want to wear this. And I'm like, no, you've been wearing that all weekend. Those have been your pajamas. And if I remember correctly, you wore them all day Saturday too. We don't go out in our pajamas. That is a rule we have in this house. I've never let you go out in your pajamas. We don't go out in our pajamas. You put on whatever else you want. That's fine. And her response was, well, that's stupid. That's a stupid rule. This is just stupid. Tell me, and she'd be like, tell me why. And I'd give her a reason. And the answer would come back as, well, that's just a stupid reason. That doesn't make sense. That's stupid.
Yeah, that would get me.
Yeah. So, and you should see me over here. I'm all whipping my hair and like, that's stupid. And there was a lot of snarly faces coming at me, which invoked a lot of emotion on my side. But I did try to keep my cool and we were able to work through it. And the only way I got it to stop, guys, was with me saying, I love you. But the answer is no. I've told you what you need to do. I'm willing to take you shopping like we agreed upon. I booked 2 hours. You're eating into your 2 hours of shopping right now. She eventually went upstairs, changed her clothes. And I would say actually what the really awesome part was, about 45 minutes into the shopping thing, we're walking down the aisle at the store and she just randomly goes, I'm sorry.
That's awesome. See, all those times when like you kept your cool, you stuck to your boundary, and then you just let it be. And she came back and she's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I just kind of like nudged her and winked at her and she was like, fine. Like, 'cause she's not the kind of kid that I could have a conversation because that would make her embarrassed. And then she'd be like, stop it. You're making this weird.
But what would have happened if you said to her comment, that's stupid. You're like, you do not talk to me that way. Go up to your room right now. Like, what would have been the result?
Oh, we both would have been very upset.
Yeah.
She wouldn't feel like I heard her at all, which I'm not saying that she felt like I heard her, but she clearly saw that her behavior was not what it needed to be. And I would have felt like crap.
Yeah.
Utter crap. SHIT all freaking day. I just would have been like eating away at me that we had that fight and mulling over it. And I do that a lot, especially right now being divorced, getting my kids 50-50. And I tell my daughter this all the time because she's the one I have the most conflicts with. It's that I don't want to spend my time fighting with you.
No, yeah.
I only get so much time with you. And I think that's true for all of our kids. We only get so much time with our kids in our lives. I don't want to spend it fighting. Don't put me in that position.
That's how I feel too. Like, I never want to get into a fight because the way I view it, if I get into a fight, I've lost. I'm already the loser.
Right.
Because there's no way that you can win a fight against a tween. I mean, if you have a tween, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's no way. And a teen and a kid, any of them, because there's no way they're going to see your point of view in an argument. There's no way.
It's very rare. I call those the unicorn moments.
Yeah, the unicorn moments, because it just
when they're
doesn't
like,
happen.
Oh, you're right.
You're totally right. Yes, you're right. That doesn't happen.
Why did they
ever.
do that? Yeah, no.
And so as like frustrating as it is sometimes to step away, many times I have to literally close my mouth and step away because I'm like, you are making me so mad right now, child, that I'm going to say something that I'm going to regret. So I'm just going to go with this.
Right. So Joanne and I have been mulling over this for weeks, like talking about this episode. And we came up with the 5 steps that are going to be super supportive for you in this. That's going to be able to help end that pushback when it's happening in the moment a lot quicker and in a way that makes it so that you feel better at the end.
You feel better at
Both
the
of
end.
you feel better at the end.
It may feel very uncomfortable going through this, but you're going to feel better at the end. And the more you go through these things, the more comfortable you'll feel.
Exactly.
So that discomfort, totally normal. So here we go. Number 1, it's reflective listening. That's a hard one. Reflective listening is hard to do because a lot of times we immediately want to fix a situation that we go right over trying to understand the situation better.
And it's also really hard to be reflective when someone's throwing shade at you.
Oh, yeah.
Throwing the attitude. It's really hard to be like, so I hear you say that you feel like this is a stupid rule.
Yeah. It's really hard to keep the tone out of it too. Because you're like,
yes.
Yeah. And that's like a key part of reflective listening is that you have to keep that curiosity tone instead of like the judgment tone, because the judgment tone comes out so easy.
Like, and teens pick up on that.
Easy, and they pick up on it so well. It's like the littlest hint. They'll be like, and they'll feel the need to defend themselves, and you won't get anywhere.
Right. Dr. Lisa Bravo talks about that in her episode, which will actually be airing on Thursday, April 15th. So probably have already heard that one, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
So what reflective listening is if, for instance, your child comes up to you and says, like Bree's example, this is a stupid rule. Reflective listening would be like, I understand that you think this is a stupid rule.
Yes. Yeah. It's saying it back. You're not giving judgment. You're not doing anything else. So that's when we roll into step 2.
Yep.
Right
Step
after
2
the reflective listening.
is to ask questions. And when we ask questions, we have to really bear in mind that sometimes we don't ask questions from curiosity. Sometimes we ask questions to prove a point.
Right.
A point that we think is already correct. We already know the answer and the outcome. And so we ask those kind of questions. Like when your daughter said that she thought that wearing pajamas outside the house, like it was a stupid rule.
So I get that you think it's a stupid rule, but why are my rules so stupid?
That's a perfect example. Like, why are my rules so stupid? There's no right answer. There's no right answer.
Right. No matter what she says, she's stepping into a hole.
And you're trying to prove the point that she is being disrespectful at that time.
Exactly.
So like an example of a question to ask for curiosity's sake is like, okay, I get that you feel like this is stupid. I might ask a question like, why do you want to wear pajamas out of the house? Just to understand her point of view a little bit better.
That's a great point.
Not giving any credibility to her point of view. Like you're not agreeing with her when you ask that question. I think that's the really hard part with a lot of parents.
Right. And I can tell you, I did ask that question.
Yeah.
The answer that came back was because this is easy and it's comfy.
Yeah. So that's really great information to take as a parent. So I understand that you want to be really comfortable when you go out. Is that right?
And she's like, yeah, and I don't want to have to go upstairs and change again.
Oh, I get that. I understand that you don't want to go upstairs and change.
Yeah.
So, and then you could summarize after you ask the question. So what I'm getting is that you want to wear pajamas outside of the house because you want to be comfortable and you also don't want to take the time and the energy to go upstairs and change. And do I have all that correct?
And normally they'll answer back. And do realize that there's a lot of pauses in this.
Yep.
While they're staring at you, either A, trying to figure you out what angle you're coming from.
Yeah.
Or they're just looking at you going, are you kidding me? Don't you know this? Like, I think that a lot of that is what's going through their head. And you know what? That's normal. Because they're learning communication still, even at this stage.
And through your questions, you're actually helping them understand more why they're pushing back. You're giving them the language to communicate their feelings.
Right. So, I mean, we know that Joanne and I are not naive. Let me just throw that out there, guys. Like, we get this. We know that this will often, like, asking these questions, like I just said, you're going to get the eye rolling.
Yeah.
You're going to get the sighs. And sometimes you're even going to get the really irritating, for me, the hoodie shut.
Yeah.
When they're wearing the hoodie and they just throw it over their face and they do like the Kenny thing and they pull the strings and all of a sudden their face just like disappears and you're like, I can still see you.
Yeah.
You're still there.
You know what I get is because I read a lot of parenting books and I'm very into this whole psychology of it all. Like my kids will come back and be like, I know what you're doing, Mom. And I'll be like, what? What am I doing?
Yeah, it's like we've heard that from a lot of parents that are like in this field. Their parents like, quit doing the psychology stuff on me.
Quit doing that parenting stuff.
But we're telling you, just try it. Because more often than not, you're going to find that your kid is going to open up and it's going to give you a little bit more dialogue.
It is.
And it's going to help you in this battle to get past the back talk.
And it's not going to be easy. Asking questions is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah,
and
you'll probably mess it up, but it's okay.
You'll probably mess it up.
You'll get plenty of opportunities to practice it again.
Yep. And like in our balanced coaching program, we have this come up a lot in coaching calls that we coach our members through what to do when they're faced with the situation and also what questions they could use to drill a little bit deeper.
And you know what I think is great about that is that when we do it in balance, it's not in the moment, obviously, right? I mean, you're not having a dispute with your child while they're in this coaching call with us. They're reflecting back on something that happened. And when you're not in the moment, you can really reflect on your thoughts and how you want to do things differently next time. And you're much more open to solutions. So and I'll admit too, when I was asking questions in the reflective listening, a few times I had to look just past my child, not at my child, but just past them because I couldn't take the visual, the rolling of the eyes, the slouching, the crumpled nose. So that's my little trick I'm sharing with y'all. Look just past them. It helps.
Yeah. This message is sponsored by Greenlight. It is so hard to raise kids who know how to manage money. Bree, right now, my kids are all about earning money for presents. My daughter wants to get presents for all of her friends, and my son is doing a Secret Santa with his friends.
Oh, I hear you. And if you're looking to raise kids that are financially responsible, we have got a lifesaver recommendation for you that you need to check out. It is Greenlight. Greenlight is a debit card and money app made for families that gives kids and teens an easy and fun way to gain financial literacy, all while giving parents peace of mind.
You can send instant money transfers, automate allowance, and even keep an eye on kids' spending with real-time notifications. Meanwhile, your kids can begin their journey towards financial autonomy by learning how to save, invest, and spend wisely.
So sign up for Greenlight today and get your first month free when you go to greenlight.com/NGM.
That's greenlight.com/NGM to try Greenlight for free. Greenlight.com/NGM. We're hitting that time of year where my brain gets so overloaded in December that I look for anything to make life easier. And I have to say, Brie, that Green Chef is one of those services.
Yes, Green Chef is there to take away the dreaded, oh my goodness, what are we going to eat for dinner tonight? You can eat clean all holiday long with over 80 weekly meal options each week, featuring things like quick and easy, protein-packed, calorie-smart, or my personal favorite, the keto options.
And you don't have to lose track of healthy eating habits during the holidays because every Green Chef customer gets a free session with one of their registered dietitians who can walk you through how to make clean eating work for you, which is very cool.
And I have to say that I have been loving their recipes lately. They put things together I have never thought of. This week, we're trying the lemon basil caper pork with sauteed cauliflower, bell peppers, almonds, and feta cheese, my favorite. Their recipes make it so easy to support my wellness goals without skipping on flavor.
For Green Chef's best deal of the year, get $250 off with code NGM250 at greenchef.com/NGM250. That's greenchef.com/NGM250. And don't forget to use that code NGM250 to get $250 off.
Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well.
So that brings us to number 3. Think about your role. This is hard.
It is a hard one.
Because a lot of times when kids are like back talking to us or being disrespectful to us, we need to really examining the message that we're putting out to kids. And this is not about blame. It is not about guilt. This is something that I've had to go back in myself and reflect exactly what's going on. I have this a lot in terms of perfectionist things and not resting when I see my daughter trying to do everything perfect and like be as productive as possible. And I'm like, hold on, rest. I have to look back at myself and be like, what message am I giving her?
Right. And you know, another thing that I found was really helpful about this thinking about your role. We've recently been reading The Explosive Child by Dr. Ross Greene, and he talks about the importance of letting kids have that transition time and how a lot of times that causes conflict.
Yeah.
So an example of that would be, and this is where I occasionally see back talk from my son, who is much less likely to give it to me. But I ask him to, I don't know, go walk the dog, right? We live in a 3-story house. So a lot of times I'll do it via Alexa to avoid having to run all the way up to the 3rd floor. And I'll be like, hey, can you walk the dog? And he'll come back and say, yeah, I'll do it. And then 10 minutes has passed and he hasn't done it. So then now I'm getting upset because I'm like, you said you'd walk the dog. And in my head, 10 minutes is plenty. So then I go upstairs and he's playing a video game. And I would say to him, hey, you said you'd walk the dog. And he'd go, in a minute. Okay. Now, what was my contribution in that?
I was just expecting him to immediately drop everything he was doing to walk the dog.
Yes. I didn't take into consideration he was in the middle of something. How would I feel if I was in the middle of editing a podcast episode and my kid asked me to make them something to eat and I said, I'll get to it. Yeah, sure. Yeah. And then 10 minutes later, they came in demanding for that food.
My kids do that all the time.
I'd be like, it makes me crazy. You don't.
Yes.
Right? So I would have that same response. So that's where I have to look at my role. Did I come in and expect my kid to drop everything they were doing to do the request I gave them?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. And it really wasn't fair. And whether or not it had to happen at that moment, let's say it did have to happen. He had to walk the dog within 10 minutes. Let's say he absolutely had to. What I'm saying in this is that when you look at your own role, you understand that wasn't necessarily disrespectful back talk.
Yeah.
It was an emotional response
not realizing what your child's needs were.
I think that's a great example. I mean, I think I do the same thing when I'm on a rush to get everything picked up in the house. And I'm like, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? Can you do that? Then my kids are like, and they're just stunned because here they are assaulted with like this barrage of requests from me.
And they're trying to get one done and the next one comes and then they can't keep track of all that in their head. And then we're frustrated because you're like, I asked you to do it.
Exactly.
And that's another one that my daughter tells me a lot. Like she's very sensitive to my tone.
The tone, yes.
And sometimes, let's say I'm coming home and like you just said, we're rushed. We got to get something done. Or I'm coming home and I've had a bad day or something just happened. Oh, last night. I had a tone when I was talking to my kids because we were on a walk with the dog. Miguel and I were, and Max being Max, he's this little Chihuahua mix that thinks he is in charge of the world. And he thinks every other dog in the world is trying to eat me.
Yeah.
So he got very upset on the walk several times and almost got in a full out brawl with another dog that was not on a leash. Not even going to address that one. You know how I feel about that clearly right now. So I get home and our walk was longer than it meant, or that was supposed to be. So part of dinner had started to burn and everybody was in the kitchen like, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. So I started snapping and then I had to step back, breathe hard, because my daughter then gave some attitude back to me. And before I responded to her, I immediately knew, because of the fact that I was so aware of myself, that I had been snapping at her first.
Yes.
So I immediately stopped and was like, you know what? I'm sorry, I have a tone. I'm not frustrated with you. Frustrated with the walk with the dog and the food is burning. And she's like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to snap back.
The tone thing. I get the tone thing too.
Stopped.
Yeah. I get like, sometimes I will get upset. When I get upset, I tend to clam up and not tell everyone the things. And I get very short. And I'm like, yeah, can you go over there and do that? And my daughter's like, are you mad? No, I'm not mad. Of course I'm mad. But at that same time, like, I don't know exactly what I'm mad about. So like I will be trying to like keep my emotions under control and it just doesn't work. So like 2 minutes later, I'll be like, I'm frustrated because of this and this and this. And a lot of times it has nothing to do with my kids.
And you know what? They need to hear that. The tweens and the teens,
they need to hear it.
They have to hear that it's not them because as you know, the world does revolve around them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I
mean,
mean,
it's normal to think that as a teen or a tween.
And I'm joking. Yeah. I'm being sarcastic, but at the same time, like you just said, that's a developmental stage.
It's developmental to think the whole world revolves around you.
Yeah, they're working through that thought process. But because of that, they also take a lot of what emotions are thrown out there and they internalize it.
They do.
It's me.
They do.
It's me.
That brings us to number 4.
Yes.
Give your child more freedom. It's hard. This one's a hard one because a lot of the times if we think that we're not constantly on it and we're not constantly reminding them that something is going to fall through the cracks and our child is going to fail miserably.
Right. And we also think sometimes if they're being rude or disrespectful that they don't deserve that freedom.
Exactly.
If you're being rude, freedom is an earned right.
Yes. And that is the hard thing because a lot of times when our kids are being disrespectful, they need more freedom. That's what they're telling us. They're pushing back because they need more freedom. And no amount of taking away like privileges or anything is going to make them be any more respectful.
So this will work really great when you have the case of like, you ask your kid to, I don't know, do their laundry.
Yes. It's so funny because when we were talking about this and then you brought it to Miguel and you're like, yeah, Joanne says her kids don't backtalk. And Miguel's like, wait a minute. Wasn't it her son who said that he wasn't going to fold his laundry? And I'm like, yes, he totally told me that. My son, like, we put him in control of his laundry and he refused to fold his clothes, like quite adamantly. So much so that he actually told me, like, I don't have to do it and you can't make me. But he told me in a very measured tone. It wasn't like yelled back at me.
And you could have taken that as backtalk and you could have engaged in...
I could have engaged in that.
A conversation on it.
I did not engage. I got extremely mad, but when I get mad, I take it in and I walk away because I knew that I was going to say something at that instant that would damage my relationship with my son.
Right.
But so backtalk does happen in our house. However, giving him that freedom not to fold his clothes ended up being a very good thing in the long run. Because he then experienced the natural consequences of not folding his clothes.
Within a week.
Within a week. Because like we're going out the door for school and he's like, Mom, I can't find any socks. And I'm like, oh.
Right.
And he looks at me, he's like, oh. And he goes and he like tries to find socks. But funny story, my son actually wears 2 different socks every day now.
So does mine.
Because he doesn't want to put the socks together and it's become his new style. And
Same with mine. Oh my Lord. I thought it was just Robert.
That's the freedom that to give kids to kind of express themselves how they want to express themselves. Yes, someone might look at that and be like, oh my gosh, that child's mother, she doesn't like take care of him and make sure he has 2 pairs of matching socks. Yeah, someone might say that, but you know what? Who cares? Because you know what it's like at your house. You know that you don't want to get in this fight with your child. And what does wearing 2 different socks really do in the long run?
Right.
It doesn't do anything.
And I think a big thing too to note of this is sometimes we in our heads, you guys have heard me and Joanne say it all the time, they're not going to do their laundry, which means that they're going to get made fun of at school, which means they're going to drop out of school. And then that means that they're never going to get a job and they're going to start living in a van down by the river.
Yeah, but let's stop it right there, because what will really happen is that they won't do their laundry. They'll be made fun of at school. That peer pressure is going to have them rethink their not doing their laundry stance, and they might go back and do their laundry.
Right? So like, I think it's helpful sometimes just to tell them what our thought process is. I don't need to tell my kid that I'm afraid they're going to end up in a van down by the river. But what I can say to them is like, look, it's Sunday and it's 4:00 and you haven't started your laundry. I'm afraid that if you don't go do it right now, it's going to be 9:30 and then it's going to be bedtime and you're going to say, oh, I can't go to bed. I don't have any clothes to wear to school tomorrow and I have to do my laundry. You say that to your kid and guess what? Your kid's going to come back and they're either going to go, oh, I didn't think of that. Or they're going to go, Mom, I'm going to do my laundry when I come down for dinner at 6.
Your kids will
And then you're like,
frequently they'll talk you
okay.
down. That's what like my
Right?
daughter talks me down all the time, because mine is like her going to Coffee Rush, which is at the corner, and they have to cross the street. And I'm like, here's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of this, this, and this. And she'll like, okay, here is why you don't need to be afraid of that. And here's what I'm going to do. So it's
Hearing what they're going to do, and hearing that they actually have a plan is so helpful.
It
I
is
think.
really helpful, and it helps them
that-
build the responsibility too.
But you only get that when you give them the freedom.
Exactly. So give them the freedom.
Yep.
And then finally, you got to know
When to hold 'em.
Know when to fold them. Know when to walk away.
Know when to run.
Walk away.
Yes.
Walk away. That is like, remember, if you get into a fight, it's already a losing situation. If there is yelling and your emotions are heightened, you've already lost. That's how I see it. Like, I've already lost if I'm yelling. There's no shame in walking away.
Kenny Rogers was a wise man.
Yes.
Yes.
Because many people think that it is our job to solve things immediately. Because if we don't solve problems immediately, then everyone will forget about it. And
The world will crash
the
down.
world, like, and that's all fear talking. It's all fear talking. You can walk away. You can gather your thoughts. It's going to give you time to cool down. It's going to give your kids time to cool down. And then when you feel like you can have the conversation, that's when you can have the conversation. You don't have to deal with it immediately.
Yep. And my favorite thing to do when you're in the middle of the conversation or like you've been having the conversation and your kid keeps coming back. So like my example, my daughter kept saying to me over and over and over again, that's stupid. That rule is stupid. I should be able to go out in my pajamas. That's stupid. Eventually, after I was done saying my point, all I said to her repeatedly was, I love you. And the answer is no. I love you. And the answer is no. Eventually, she was like, okay, I can't fight that.
Yeah.
So she just went upstairs, she cooled off and came back down half an hour later, lo and behold, in different comfy clothes.
So here are those tips for you again about how you can make backtalk a little bit less of an issue in your home. Number 1, reflective listening. Repeat back what your child has said to you.
You want to ask them some questions and make sure they're actually truly inquisitive.
Number 3, think about your role in the conversation and the dynamic, and really examine that to feel like what message you're giving your child, either through your actions or through your tone.
You want to make sure that you're trying to give your child some more freedom because a lot of time that's when you find out whether or not they have a plan.
And number 5, it is okay to walk away. Know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away,
and know when to run.
know when to run.
Sometimes you got to run away.
Sometimes you got to run. So until next time, remember, the best mom's a happy mom. Take care of you. We'll see you later.
Thanks for stopping by.
Are you looking for something to listen to with your whole family? Then check out 6 Minutes, produced and created by Gen Z Media. With over 200 twisty, cliffhanger-filled episodes, 6 Minutes tells the story of 11-year-old Holiday who is pulled from the icy waters with no memory of who she is or where she came from.
3 years ago, Brinley Pasternak helped the Anders family uncover the truth about Holiday's past. Now she'll need them to help her find the truth about hers. In 6 Minutes Out of Time, the long-awaited sequel, Cyrus Anders is found unconscious near the mysterious Elixir Academy in Florida, and Brinley learns the school may have a shocking connection to her missing mother.
Dive in now and get the most downloaded family audio adventure in history. Follow 6 Minutes wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen early and ad-free with the GZM family subscription.